American Sign Language interpreters can bring the magic of live music to the deaf and hard of hearing.
But how does ASL translate song lyrics across different genres and emotions?
This is Enable, the Disability Podcast, where we'll share stories, experiences, support, resources, and more for people with disabilities and different abilities. We are at Enable Podcast on social media. My name is Deaf Jeff Herbert.
And my name is Kurt Hauer. We're talking with Amber Galloway and Julian Ortiz, who are ASL interpreters for music concerts at places like the New York State Fair, Lollapalooza, and the Super Bowl. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Amber, please start off by telling us how ASL interpreting for music works. How is it different from doing sign language for regular speech or closed captions and subtitles?
That's a lot in a little time. So, music is different because you have to think about all of the layers. You have to think about the artist's message. You have to think about the musicality that is needed. You have to think about also not only the interpretations that the public has, but also, and like that fans have, you have to think about the interpretation of what the actual artist is trying to convey. So, those messages have to be incorporated with music because it's almost like frozen text because they're lyrics that have been locked in and they don't really change often. But the way a singer says it or how they deliver it, we have to ensure that we show it and feel it with the tonality. And so music adds a whole nother responsibility to deliver, especially in the entertainment world. And movement. And we have to have rhythm and dance.
Well, that makes me think of something that I read recently about you and your organization. And just as a follow up, you said music is more than just hearing. And I'm just curious um, to hear a little bit more about that.
So when I say that it's more than hearing, I think that oftentimes people like if there's a viral video, right? It goes out and people are like, "Why do deaf people go to concerts?" But I want y'all to think about, why do you go to a concert? We go for the experience. We go to connect with other humans. We go to dance. We go to smell the smells of music. And when I mean music, meaning festivals, the smells of people, the smells of the different things, maybe cigarettes or other things that happen in the air. We go to also smell like the dirt that is transpiring when you're dancing. We go to smell the sweat. Like we literally are experience everything more than just actually depending on what my ears do. So it's also a connection again with the emotional part of the human soul, and that's what music drives us to have, is a connection from no matter what background, no matter where we're from, we have those moments together. So it's more than what the music is, but what the music does for us in those experiences.
Yeah, that's very true. Thank you for sharing that. Julian, do you translate lyrics literally, word for word, or do you sometimes have to change them?
That's actually a good question. It depends on the genre. Um, let's say if you want to talk about hip hop, a lot of like a hip hop song. Sometimes like in a hip hop culture, we didn't summarize the whole thing because we like to hear like specific word that is come with rhyme and all that. But like if it's like a country music, then we like it more like American Sign Language in like a picture, like how we like it painted, because like it's more like a storytelling. It's more like, okay, we got a picket fence and then we sitting on the chair, rocking chair with my holding my beer. Um, but yeah, it's actually depends on every genre we're doing. Like if I do the hip hop, I kind of do the word for word because they like to see the word. They like to see like where you rhyming in every bar. So like hip hop is a lot of like bars where it came in every sentence. So I think it depends on the genre. Like yeah.
Thank you.
Amber, how do you handle instrumental sections or something like EDM music? Do you play air guitar?
Well, a lot of people think that it's air instruments, and it's really not. It's actually linguistically sound language that we are showing that is based on the roots of ASL. So we actually show more. So, like, you can see like an air guitar. Like, if I do this, like, if I'm just having my hands up and I look like I'm playing a guitar, this doesn't have any linguistic information, right? It's just my hand doing this. So I can virtually look at the artist doing the same thing. So what we do is we use our non-manual signals. And so that's going to actually be where we're expressing the different levels of sound. So like if I'm going to show a guitar, like I can look at the guitar player, but I'm not going to know the tone if I'm profoundly deaf, right? So if I'm profoundly deaf, I want to know that. A lot of profoundly deaf people are not given that information. And that's where I kind of like started my journey in researching because I was married to a profoundly deaf person. They said, "I see the guitar, but I don't know what it sounds like. I feel the bass, but I don't know where and why. And why do people clap and scream when the people are playing a specific way?" So then I started thinking about it and looking at how deaf storytellers handled sound. So then I kind of took all of that and applied it to different instruments. So then like for bass guitars, we do a puffy cheek, right? So we're going to go and like Julian is awesome with EDM. He's like an EDM king. So then he can show like robot. Can you show like a robot sound? Do you mind showing the robot sound?
Yeah. So in EDM we show like a different type of beat, different type of frequency. So what I do like
And so you actually will communicate. So that is no longer an air. Like you see how he's doing the piano. So we're going to do higher frequencies. Our face kind of scrunches up, right? Dee, 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 dee. So you're going to do those. Or like if it's a snare, we're going to go higher up and our face scrunches in. But if it's heavier sounds, our face opens up, our body opens up and we puff out our cheeks. So all of that is different linguistic information. That's the tell of what the sound sounds like based off of ASL rooted language of how to deal with sounds.
Wow.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too. And Julian and Amber, you are rock stars in your own right. And I understand that Julian, you were on stage at the Super Bowl for America the Beautiful. And I'm just wondering what that experience was like for you. Were you nervous?
it's it was the whole different experience. Um, because the first thing is that I have been like picture myself as the interpreter. So I always like came to the stage as the interpreter. But at the American the Beautiful and the halftime show, I keep forgetting that I am not interpreter. I am a performer. So it's like my stage, my moment. Like I'm a star. And I'm not used to it. And then when I get to the platform, my brain falls. Like it I couldn't even explain where my brain goes. I don't know where my brain goes. I feel like it keep running around the whole stadium, and I was trying to look at the people. I look at like an ant that running across the hill. It looked like an ant to me. So I'm just trying to like pretend like it's not a real people. 'Cause you have like if I remember, they put up the screen. They said 78,000 people attended to the Super Bowl, and that's like the unreal number. So of course, I was like nervous, and it was a different experience. And then when I get to the platform, I stand up. It was not so bad, and I thought, oh, it was pretty easy because I'm just, I have to stand big and I just do me. But the halftime show, I'm not gonna lie, ooh, that's probably the most scariest moment because I was born in the United States, not in Puerto Rico, and they have it's called Puerto Rican Sign Language, where it's like completely different grammar structure, completely a little different of sign language using. So I'm trying my best to study the most study a lot of them as much as possible, so I can give back to Puerto Rico people. And that's a cool part. I didn't want to upset Puerto Rican people and saying like, hey, what's going on? Why Julian on the platform? But then Telema, like the one from Puerto Rico, she came to me and said, I don't care about them. I want you in because you are awesome interpreters. And I'm like, I appreciate that. So it's a really cool experience, but it's scary because I didn't want to fail my community.
Wow. I'm so glad you did. Julian, thank you.
Amber, you're not deaf, but you are hard of hearing like I am. How do you protect your ears at concert so you don't lose more hearing?
I guess because I don't protect my ears really. I mean, because I'm already half deaf anyway. So if I lose more, I'm not worried about that because I already function as a deaf person and also still have like half hearing. So I guess I just don't really think about it because I just function as a hard of hearing deaf person. like like, I don't think about protecting. I mean, I do, like, use our, like, earplugs and stuff like that, but really, I don't need to because, I mean, I'll eventually lose all my hearing. Like, that was what explained to me. That's what the doctor had explained to me. So,
Well, Julian, what do you wish more people knew about access to sign language at concert?
Um, I wish every, concert, every festival just provide the access for the interpreters. Just provide it, regardless if there's like no deaf people or deaf people requesting it. Because at the end of the day, it's like they have no idea how many people that are actually hard of hearing or deaf or like a hard of hearing person that doesn't use sign language, but when they get through like a platform and they realize that's an ASL, so they're like, oh, it's a very important part for the festival and a whole like different cultures to understand, because it's not just like, oh, okay, so it's just for the person who can't hear or for the person who just sign language. No, it's about the exposure too. Like they're missing so many what if. Like if you just provide the interpreter all the way, who knows? One of the things it helped another hearing people to look at it and then like, oh, I have a deaf friend, they might enjoy it. It could be this one, or you have a hard of hearing person that's trying to learn language, but they're missing one more thing to just get there and watch them. Oh, that's my language. I find it. Every little piece that they have to understand. It doesn't matter, again, deaf or not. I think they should provide interpreter all days, all the way.
and also when you proactively provide, you welcome our community all the time. Like, if you plan it and put it in the budget for all of your events, then that welcomes our entire community, so then it actually affects in a positive way your ROI. So your ROI is going to benefit because not only that, if you're providing, you have to think about all the positives that happen with that. You provide for deaf and hard of hearing, but guess what? If I get to go, I'm going to tell my mom and I'm going to tell my dad, and I'm going to tell my uncles and aunts and all of them that this place provides access, and then they're going to buy tickets so that it increases the numbers. So that it's not a negative part at all. All I see is positive. It's a welcoming of our entire community plus additional money. So most of the time people look at money. So I'm like, there we have results of money. We have money we want to spend, but we're not going to have to fight because if we have to fight, it's exhausting. It's exhausting to fight.
I've known Amber and Julian's work for a long time because in Syracuse they come to the New York State Fair, and as a person who's hard of hearing, I really appreciate that the fair has a section for the deaf and hard of hearing so that they can sit near the stage and they can see the ASL interpreters like Julian and Amber. I like to sit there because I'm hard of hearing. I don't know enough sign language to have a conversation, but I appreciate that I can see your facial expressions, the way you act out the music, and that helps me understand the tone of the music that's happening. At the same time that I can read your lip if you're singing along, or I can read the lip of the performers. I went to a mainstream school, so I was one of the only kids that was hard of hearing in my community growing up. In the deaf community, sometimes there's conflicts between those who use oral communication instead of or with sign language. Have you seen or experienced those kinds of challenges or conflicts?
That's a good question. I have never been in a situation like that before, if I'm being fairly honest. It's I think because like they kind of it's scenario is getting where um I don't know. And I have never been in that situation, but if I could like pretend like if that happened to me, I might would have like asked the person like, okay, how do you like me to interpret the sound? And like if the person asked me like, open your mouth bigger, and then like they the word it called Q,
Cute
like
speech.
where like they have Q piece where they have like a specific thing they can understand. Maybe I should back out the day because like I'm not, you know, in that kind of like situation. But like if I had to open my oral and do like a simcom where like you open your mouth at the same time, like you're signing like a little bit word by word, then it's gonna be easier for me. But it's gonna be depends on the situation. I never thought of that situation, so that's a good question.
So, because I have a background in oral interpreting, so I've done a lot of oral interpreting with music. And then it was interesting because one city I worked in San Antonio, Texas, there's a oral school for the deaf. And so I did a lot of work in music in the beginning of my career doing oral interpreting, and people never really understood that because they don't understand that when the singers are up there and if you're back somewhere and you're deaf but you're only oral, they're not going to an oral reader. You're not going to be able to see the artist's mouth all the time because they run around the stage, right? So then we would be the constant the whole time for the concert. And it was cool because last year, for the first time, we provided oral interpreting where other agencies had never heard of it, production companies never heard of it. And I was like, I'm ready, let's do it. And that deaf person was so ecstatic that they were able to get oral interpreting because they did not sign. They didn't understand sign, but they finally had access because they could see the tone. They could see all of that because that's what we provide as oral interpreters. We're going to show you all of that. But also in the history of my career, I have like kind of polled deaf and hard of hearing people that go to concerts frequently. And they have told me they want to see the chorus on the mouth as often as possible. So I try to train myself that I'm not going to go crazy strong ASL on the chorus because they're going to be signing and singing at the same time and they want to follow the same as all of the hearing counterparts because that's what all hearing people do, right? Like you ask anyone a song, they'll know the chorus. They might not know all of the other standards, but they'll know the chorus.
Well, thank you for taking the time to share with us. I got to tell you, I learned something today. I learned about the magic of live music and that it's more about music is more than just about hearing. And I'm just curious if you had any closing thoughts you'd like to share with us.
I want the world to know that, again, this might gonna be on the repeat, but closed caption never worked for us. Because number one, closed caption lack of emotional. So it's hard for us to like detach it. We emotional. We very like eye to an eye conversation. Second, the grammar is not something that we will understand. To the say, for example, the cat went up to the tree. But if I wanted to tell you how deaf people read, they will read the cat zoomed tree. So it is, the concept of the grammar structure is how we read. It's how we paint the picture. So I wanted to like emphasize that like closed caption would not work for us. And that's why like having an interpreter is very important because interpreters are able to detect the whole emotion, the whole tone, the whole instrumental, the voice, the person attitude, like every little thing, like it's gonna bring the whole experience. So I think that's a little reason why like a lot of people are always blown away because how the interpreter delivered the message to the audience, and a lot of audience, even the hearing person, will be like, I understand this better than the article. So it happens a lot. Like even when I did a Super Bowl and I was doing, a Bad Bunny song, even his song is like Spanish, a lot of Spanish. But when I use my, gesture and my attitude, some of the like even American, well, it's American, whatever you call it, English speakers looking at me like, I understand a little. That is freaking awesome. You made me cry. And it was interesting, it's at first I didn't understand like why, like how do you hearing people understand? But then eventually the more I meet a lot of people, the more I talk with, the more like they congratulate me, the more I understood. Like, oh, they can see the emotion, they can feel the energy. So I think this is very important for the deaf community.
And I think just again, just emphasize the proactive providing interpreters beforehand. Already put it in your budget lines, plan it for all of your events, and welcome us so that we don't have to fight for it because we're exhausted from fighting all the time to get access to our everyday needs and having to navigate that. So if you're providing, we're going to come. And if you're providing, we're going to buy the tickets. If you provide, we will be your biggest fan and we will tell everyone that you're doing that. So I think just emphasizing do it, make it happen. Just like, their movie, If You Build It, They Will Come. It was Field of Dreams. That movie, it's true. If you build it, if you hire interpreters, deaf and hard of hearing people will come in droves. I have seen it. I've seen proof of it. Lollapalooza, our numbers have tripled over the last 5 years since COVID because they are proactively providing. They automatically provide for all of their festivals now. So it can happen. And then your ROI will increase significantly.
Thank you again for joining us. I love you both. This is Enable, the Disability Podcast. We're not solely defined by the things we can't do when there's so many things we can do. We are at Enable Podcast on social media. Please like, follow, and subscribe.
And please share this podcast with your friends and family so we can share more stories about people with different abilities that bring us all together. Thank you.